Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2012 animated feature film from Illumination slash Universal, The Lorax. So this is based on Dr. Seuss's book. Very quick hour and a half, as all films should be. Incredible musical. I distinctly remember watching this, the late night pre-screening showing that Thursday before, with my brother and a bunch of our friends. They were all on a spring break. We had seen it. I remember verbally saying "whoa" in the opening scene because the camera panned in, and the whole "In Sneedville" song started, and I just could not believe what we were in for. I was like, "This is going to be insane," and this is an insane film. You watch it every Earth Day, every Arbor Day, celebrate the trees, celebrate the planet, and it's a great film. Now, my criticism with the animated Horton Hears a Who film, which we talked about a little earlier ago, um, was that it was so different from the book. And if you're going to make a musical, why not just do Seussical? I am so attached to Seussical, it's in my bones, that this is why I had such a problem with the Horton Hears a Who film. And on the flip side, the Lorax is very different from the book. So how can I have the same criticism? Oh, Horton Hears a Who is so different from the book. How dare they? And I don't have the same criticism with Horton Hears a Who. With the Lorax is so different from the book. How dare they? It's because the way that the changes are, that the Horton changes in Seussical are incredible. The Horton changes in the animated film are dumb, story wise. The changes and add-ons to Lorax is so cool because we get a whole Thneedville prequel of and sequel series of events of how this boy named Ted, 12-year-old boy named Ted, voiced by Zac Efron, of course, who's madly in love with this girl next door person, Taylor Swift's character, and the only way that she'll get his attention is if he can find her a tree somehow. So he has to where can he find a tree? Because trees don't exist in Thieversville anymore. Everything is artificial, everything is electronic, everything is plastic and metal and rubber. Nothing is real. So how do you get a tree? Well, his grandma, voiced by Betty White, of course, tells him that he has to meet the Onceler, who's outside the gates of Thneedville, the wall of Thneedville, and he has to talk to the Onceler, and the Onceler will tell him how to get a tree. Onceler forces him to listen to the story of Thneedville, the creation of Thneedville, and then eventually gives him a seed to the last truffula tree. And then there's a revolution, and the tree is planted, and then trees come back to Thneedville. The Lorax then visits the Onceler at the end as well. So we get, though, the prequel story. So it's two different stories. We get the origin story of Thneedville, where Ed O'Hare's character comes to what just land to find something to make his Thneed, which could be anything. It could be a hat, could be a scarf, could be a sweater, could be a cape, could hold something, right? Could be anything. And the truffula truffs are the best source of material, and he cuts a tree down. The Thorax visits him, and they have a funeral for the tree, and how dare he kill the tree, and he puts an unless tombstone kind of a thing, gravestone, or surrounding the stump. And the Onceler never understood why he put unless. Why was the Lorax so insistent on unless being in front of this stump? So then eventually people want a Thneed, and Onceler's family then comes to help build a factory, build a whole economy, and then city around this area, cutting down tree, cutting down tree, cutting down tree. And what happens when you cut the last tree down? That's it. That's all you get. So then Thneedville was born out of artificial need for oxygen and lights and stuff, right? Because there was no more nature around, so they had to build it. So having then that story translating throughout the main story of Ted trying to get a tree for the girl that he likes, it's just very entertaining because it's two different stories woven together. And it's so well done. There's balance, there's act ones for both stories, act twos for both stories, act three for both stories. We get two different movies in this hour and a half film, and it's so well crafted. Visual, coloring, cinematography, the sound, the music is just incredible as well. It's just a well-balanced story, both prequel and sequel, in one unit. It's very rare to do that, and this does an incredible job giving us character development, giving us land development, giving us a city development. What happens then when the economy is gone? What happens? So it's very iconic and quoted. And then we get the Dr. Seuss quote at the end, unless someone like you cares as much to fight, then nothing will ever be done, nothing, or something like that, right? That's where the unless quote comes from. So it's just a very well done film, and Illumination does an incredible job with all the films that they do in general. And that brings me to my point before. We have a list of Disney stuff. We have a list of DreamWorks animation stuff. I don't have a list of Illumination stuff. I don't have a list of Blue Sky stuff. And I know there's other production companies that make animated films, and I need to get my list together because I know I've seen a bunch of stuff. Like Netflix has their own animation studio, but what is it called? Is it just called Netflix Animation? I genuinely don't know because we've seen a bunch of Netflix animation properties before. What is it called? What's going on? I'm losing my mind. It's been a whirlwind animation wrap up recently. It's because they hold my attention. They're hour and a half films. They have beginning, middles, and ends. Some are great, some are stupid, but they're hour and a half films. That's all the film should be. Hour and a half, 3 acts, bing bang boom, on to the next review. Mucho mahalo.